Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the first chapter of the main course book Flamingo, the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. Before going to the chapter, let me ask you some questions. Which is your favorite language? And which language do you think you can express yourself better? Yeah, probably it might be your mother tongue, right? Yes, it is our language or mother tongue is the language in which we could express ourselves in a better way rather than in any other languages. So the language has a little relation with our identity, right? Let's see more about it. So the lesson was written by Alphonse Daudet. He was a French novelist, short story writer, playwright, and a poet. He started his career as a teacher, but later he stepped to journalism. Before going to the chapter, we have to know about the backdrop of the chapter because this story is set in the backdrop of Franco-Prussian War. Have you heard of Franco-Prussian War? It was during 1870 to 1871. There was a war between France and Prussia. Prussia is a country that consists of today's Germany, Poland, and some parts of Austria. Earlier, it was Prussia together, and the army was led by Bismarck. You probably should have heard of Otto von Bismarck in your history pages, I think. So, the Prussian army was led by Bismarck, and some parts of France, especially the district called Alsace and Lorraine, were conquered by the Prussian army, and they tried to impose their language over there. That is German over France. Let's see what happened when they tried to impose it. So the chapter begins with a narration of a schoolboy named Franz. Is a story is written in the perspective of the schoolboy itself. We will start the chapter. Hope you have read the chapter earlier. Franz was late that day. That morning he was a little late, and also he was afraid of scolding from Mr. Hamel as he hadn't prepared his homework on participles. On the way, he was distracted by many things around him, the birds chirping, the soldiers drilling, and suddenly he saw some people crowded over the bulletin board in front of the town hall. For some years after the war happening, during the war period, certain news, like bad news is probably most commonly come in the bulletin board. Some orders, some the toll and anything. And on the way, certain people make fun of him as he was late to school. Normally, when he reached school, it was a great bustle, but today it was quite silent as a Sunday morning. He went into the classroom. Mr. Hamel didn't scold him. He asked him to take his seat. He went inside and he settled down to find that his teacher was not in a normal attire. He was in special appearance, like he has when some dresses his dresses were different that he normally not wear in the classroom. Normally he wear such kind of green coat shirt embroidery things during an inspection or prize days. Also he was shocked to see certain people at the back benches. Normally these benches were empty, but today it was filled by village people. Old houseserv, former mayor, former postmaster, and some other people were sitting there. He was shocked. Why? Also, they were had some of old Holzer has a primer with him. Primer here means an elementary book or a book consisting of alphabets or words normally considered for small children. An old one. So he was wondering about all these things because the it seems quite calm the school, and our teacher was in special appearance, and also some village people are around in the classroom. At that time, Mr. Hamel said to the students like this in a serious voice: My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson, and I want you to be very attentive. He thundered, clapped. What a thunderclap these words were to me. Oh my god, he was shocked again because now he is regretting about the days he hadn't studied his language. Now, this is the last day. He was actually shocked. He also thinks of his teacher. That's why poor man who has a service of 40 years is now going to take his last class. And that's why in order to honor him, these village people also has come to the school and they are there at the classroom. That moment, Franz, the schoolboy, get the seriousness of the matter. That was in the first part. Hope you will understand. Now we will move to the second part. What happened inside the classroom? When Franz was thinking about all these, his teacher called him. He asked him to recite, but Franz fumbles. He got stuck somewhere. Mr. Hamel didn't scold him, but he said, I won't scold you, little Franz. And that's a great trouble with all says, he's saying. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now these fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it? You pretend to be a Frenchman and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language? But you are not the worst, poor little Franz. We all have a great deal to reproach ourselves with. Now he realizes that until this time, these French people don't know how to write properly or how to speak properly their French language. And in this day, at the last moment, they couldn't do anything but scold themselves. He also tells them that it was his mistake that he teaches he also don't give much time or the people where the students were more lazy to study it. Then he went on to talk about French language. He talked about his language emotionally. He said that it is the clearest and most logical language in the world. And because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. See, enslaving a language means enslaving the country itself, their culture itself. He opened grammar and then he attended writing. Not like every day, this day everyone was so curious, so anxious, and so silent that they understood everything in one sitting itself. The classroom was so quiet and calm that nothing disturbed them. They could understand everything. There was a sentence that Franz thinking, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? That is an ironic statement where France thinks that whether these people, whether has they are imposing the language, will can they make these pigeons even sing in German language? That means it is not probable. It's not probable to change one's mother tongue or language. See, no one can change the language of the pigeons. No one can, likewise, his language cannot be changed. When others were writing, Franz was looking at Mr. Hamel, his teacher. He was sitting motionless in his chair and gazing at everything as if he is scanning the entire class as if to imprint in everything in his mind. Hence, it is his last class. Then he taught, Mr. Hamel taught the babies the alphabets. The village people also, the old people also carried out imitated it or they also repeated after that because they are also worried, they were also sad about missing their language. Finally, all at once, the church clock struck 12. Then the angelus. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians, returning from drill, sounded under our windows. Mr. Hamill stood up, very pale, in his chair, and I never saw him look so tall. My friends, said he, I, I, but he couldn't complete. He was overwhelmed with emotions that he just leaned on the blackboard and write, "We were love friends." Then he stopped, leaned and showed the action that the school is dismissed. This was the last lesson. Hope you could understand what happened. When it was time, when even though they conducted the class, and that finally he was completely gone with the emotion, or he is completely sorrowful of the last lesson he is going to, or he has taken of his service. He never thought of such a day, but that day has come when he has to end up the career of or service of 40 years to teach and learn the language. The language is not just the language as it is. See, the major themes of the chapter thus is the war, what will happen, or what are the things do happen during the war, the identity and language, how one's identity is related to language. We know one's language is rooted to one's identity, and it is important to learn and love one's language because it helps to protect our individual and collective identity. It is also a chapter which points out linguistic chauvinism, that here the Prussian people try to impose their language over French. The chauvinism is a belief that one's language is the best and important. That's why the French people was denied their language, that the Prussians, the German people were trying to impose their own language, German language over Prussia. I think you have understood the chapter. Here some difficult words are there. Commotion means unrest. Primer here refers to an elementary textbook. Normally the books consisting of some alphabets or letters. Reproach means to scold, and Viva la France means long live France. He is writing about the language itself, nothing more that the teacher could do. Here some questions are there. Try to write it. Describe the Franz walk to school, what he see around him. What did Franz notice that was unusual about the school that day? How did Franz's feelings about Mr. Hamel and the school change suddenly? And another assignment 2. You have to prepare a diary entry on the last class of your favorite teacher. You might have attended your class of a favorite teacher, might be in 10th standard or something. You can write it as a diary entry. Hope you have understand the chapter. For any queries, message me. Whatever doubt you have, we will clear in the next class and discuss the whole summary and the grammar part or the exercise part of the chapter in the next class. Thank you.